Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another one of the new uniques that's been introduced in Season 5, Patch 1.50, and this is the Rakanoth's Wake Ancestral Unique Boots. And these are kind of interesting because they do have some kind of like some beastly stats on them that we can talk about. So first off, they do come with the attacks reduced evades cooldown by 1.5 seconds, which I do actually kind of like depending on the character. Some people like the charges, some people like the reduced cooldown. I think the charges are better in general, but I do think on certain characters that attack really, really fast, the attacks reduce evade cooldown actually do work out to be better. On top of this, it also gives a nice 18% increased movement speed, a 57 to 75% non-physical damage increase. So this is actually kind of neat for characters that are doing a lot of non-physical damage, like maybe your fire, ice, lightning, poison, etc. And it's just a flat additive bonus, but it is still a good little damage bump. We also get a massive 35% resistance to all elements on these boots, so 26 to 35%, which can definitely come in handy for those barbarians, rogues, druids, basically anybody that's not a sorceress or a necromancer that has issues with resistances getting those caps. The massive amount of resistances on these can definitely help you cap out your reses with relative ease. We also get a pretty nice 8% cooldown reduction on here, which is definitely not terrible. Now, the main effect of these is that when you cast a skill, with a cooldown, you will explode, dealing 6,000, or rather 4,010 to 12,030 fire damage, which is kind of interesting, depending on what kind of character you're going to put this on. There are a lot of ways to scale non-physical damage. You might even be a fire damage character, and this could definitely be very interesting for you, like, say, well, Sorceress doesn't really need the resistances, but it could be interesting on the Sorc nonetheless. And then when you put them on and you actually use an ability, you'll see the effect. So let's take a look at the effect real quick. So it has to be something that uses a cooldown, so like Poison Imbuement will work. And as you can see, it basically just used kind of like a fire explosion, and it does like that fire damage to basically everything nearby. Now you can scale it with other effects like non-physical damage. You can scale it with like fire modifiers and whatnot. There's a lot of interesting ways that you can potentially scale it, but it essentially is going to give you a explosion, an AoE explosion that's going to happen essentially no matter what cooldown you use. So if you are a character in particular that spams cooldowns, it could be really interesting. There also is the Hellfire Hammer on the Barbarian that has some pretty interesting fire scaling, and they did also change the Frostburn gauntlets to have fire scaling as well now, which is really interesting. So there's a lot of ways that you could potentially tie things together to add more fire damage to these boots and make them hit even harder. Multiply the fire damage through, say, the Sorceress fire damage abilities. You could also go through the Barbarian stuff with the Hellhammer and the various other ways you can get them. The Frostburns can scale it, and in general, if you're set up for fire damage, it certainly can be nice. I don't really necessarily think that they're the most amazing things in the world for every character, but I do like the general stats on them. The 35% all resistances makes them very attractive as you're leveling for basically any character that's having trouble with resistances, as well as the cooldown reduction, and they come with movement speed as well. They're just very solid low-level boots that I would pretty much throw on just about any character. As for working them into a best-in-slot end build, I'm not entirely sure, but I do know you could probably use them to activate, say, Tal Rasha's for the fire damage effects, and of course, there are a lot of characters like the Rogue, which do scale non-physical damage. They have a lot of non-physical damage bonuses, so they could probably take advantage of them as well. I don't really know if that 12,030 fire damage is ever going to be like God tier level, but as an addendum to a build that's already focused on fire damage, could be interesting. It also says, tread carefully on the plains of hell, for each step sunders the soul and shatters the mind. Now, to get these boots, you do need to either A, find them randomly throughout the world, or gamble them, or B, go to the place where they tend to drop more often, which is the Infernal Hordes, the new mechanic. So if you haven't done the Infernal Hordes before, it usually involves these things called compasses. I don't know if I have any compasses in here right now, but yeah, there we go. And when you activate a compass, you get a special area that you go to specifically for the Infernal Hordes zone. And in the end game chest, there's like a special little chest which you get legendary items from, and there is a chance that this particular pair of boots can come from that legendary chest. That's basically where I've gotten several Rakanoth's boots so far this season, and if that's what you're looking for, then that's where you need to go. You can get lucky and get them elsewhere, but that's the main place that they drop from. All in all, I don't really think that they're like the best boots in the world, but if I found these on a barbarian, a druid, a rogue, maybe even like a barbarian, etc., like not a necromancer, not a sorceress. If I found these on pretty much any character that was not a necromancer or sorceress leveling up, I would totally throw these on. If I had them in my stash to throw on, I would totally throw them on as well, because they just are very well crafted boots, with the exception of the non-physical damage, which might not apply to your particular character. All of the stats on there are absolutely excellent. I mean, 35 all res is excellent. 8% cooldown reduction is excellent, and on top of that, we've got the 18% movement speed, which is very, very nice. So, like, as soon as I got these on this character, I've literally just started this character, basically. I threw them on just to shore up my resistances, so that I could have, a little bit better resistances. And, of course, I was also using the Melted Heart of Selig, and I was also using the Ring of the Starless Skies, because I happen to have those on my hand. You'll shush, okay? I've been playing a lot, so I get my hands on that kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys think about Rakanoth's Wade. Have you worked them into any of your builds? I'd be interested to hear about that. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining my videos. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy my content. And as always, keep watching.